So Andrew Tate's situation just keeps on getting worse and worse and worse. And now they're saying that he might actually be in trouble for working with terrorists. Quite literally, he has been referred to UK counter-terror police, and some of his little manly escapades abroad might have connections to enemies of the state. And just when you thought things couldn't get any worse, being an alleged dirty R-word, all right, disgusting, all right, woman abuser, some of the most despicable people in society. Obviously, illegal videos of young'uns have been involved. Quite literally the most depraved and disgusting crimes that you could possibly commit in society that make you deserve to be absolutely shunned, all right? Everybody can hop off the Tate train now. But on top of all of that, all right, on top of allegedly being a PDF file, allegedly in some people's opinion, all right, according to prosecutors, He's working with terrorists. So this is the latest. He's been referred to UK counter-terror police for this little escapade.
Oh, the situation for Andrew and Tristan Tate just got so much worse, and I can't lie, this is reflecting very poorly on Donald Trump, his administration, and any members of his family who have been advocating for the defense of the Tate brothers over the past few years. There are new allegations being levied against the UK government, against the Tate brothers, surrounding their trip to Russia less than a year ago. They went to Moscow, they went to St. Petersburg, and they were spreading straight Russian propaganda. I mean, the video I'm playing on screen right now is of the Tate brothers in Russia. You can see Andrew on the left right here and Tristan on the right. They are literally wearing Soviet-style uniforms with Russian flags as patches on their arms. These are the very same people trying to make an appeal to Donald Trump and the US justice system, saying that they are loyal Americans who just don't want to be targeted by the system. Well, guess what? They don't seem to be loyal Americans. They don't seem to be loyal to anything other than their own wealth, narcissism, and craving to abuse women who are helpless. I mean, these men are currently being charged for human trafficking, sex trafficking, rape, and child sexual abuse materials. They have admitted on camera to their strategies of taking women who are in very bad situations, either isolated from their family or in a bad financial situation or in a bad mental health situation, and the Tate brothers would manipulate them into doing webcam business for them and then skim off 90% of the profits while paying these women nothing. It's not only immoral, it's like sex trafficking.
So he's basically a little mini Epstein over here, okay? A lot of the same things that Epstein was accused of, Andrew Tate's being accused of. But involving himself with an enemy of the state's military is just when you thought it couldn't get any worse, okay? Now look, let's be real, all right? The United States and the United Kingdom have been in this sort of proxy war with Russia for years. This is like the new generation of the Cold War. Obviously, the Ukraine-Russia conflict, the West, Europe, the US have been funding it. They've, you know, there's been all sorts of secret training going on, things like that. Now, whether you love it, whether you hate it, it is what it is, all right? Russia is an enemy of the state. Russia has done horrible things to Americans, to British people. They've literally assassinated, ex-KGB agents on British soil, accidentally killed English citizens with chemical and biological weapons. It's disgusting, all right? And because the UK is such bitches, they never trigger Article 5, even though they've literally been attacked by Russia on their own soil. But that's by the by, all right? They're playing the long game. They're deciding to take that abuse on the chin and then just fund their biggest op, Ukraine, and slowly bleed Russia dry. Not interested in your opinions about that. You're not interested in my opinions about that. I do have my opinions about that. But anyway, Andrew Tate has been a Putin gobbler for many years. His love for Russia and Putin apparently stretches all the way back to before 2022. Look at this.
I'm ableist. Do you put him as the most powerful man in the world, Putin? Is he at the top, or you put Xi ahead of him?
My view on Putin is very controversial. So I wrap this up with this. I think Putin is misunderstood. I think he's a misunderstood man. I think that he's been in power for a very long time. I think he's extremely smart. I think he genuinely cares about Russia and Russians above other countries. We're living in a world now where it's very interesting to see European leaders self-implode and self-destruct their own gas prices, their own governments, their own businesses, their own populace's living standards because of some idealistic nation idealistic notion that they need to help a nation that they have no direct link to. If I'm a leader of X country, I should be concerned about X country more than I'm concerned about the plight of whatever country. That's my duty and job. I think it's very interesting that most politicians in the world today don't seem to give a shit at all about their constituents. They care about aligning themselves to higher ideologies and self-imploding their own countries and the living standards for this ideology.
Yeah.
Putin doesn't do that. It's Russia first, Russia. Russians, Russia. Russians, Russian. And for that, I respect him. Most other countries don't do that and won't do.
So here's the thing, right? We could sit here and talk all day as to why that's not true and why he's an idiot and why really he's just spouting propaganda, because he was probably planning to flee to Russia at some point to escape his R-word and CP charges. But, okay, just in a nutshell, all right, his assumption on this situation is that, you know, his audience is so stupid that they can't possibly comprehend that countries are big enough and complex enough that they can have multiple things going at the same time. They can do welfare for their citizens as well as spending money on things that they might want to do abroad, all right? It is what it is. You might disagree with the Ukraine-Russia conflict. You might agree with it. You might disagree with what's going on in Iran. You might disagree with Trump. You might agree with Biden. You might disagree with him. But at the end of the day, if America wants to wage a war in another country and then also have a welfare state, it can do that. America ideologically is all about freedom, all right? It's the freedom to live, the freedom to die, the freedom to choose your own healthcare, the freedom to be rich, the freedom to be poor. Yes, there's a lot of inequality. In a more socialist country like the UK, we've got the National Health Service. Now, I'm not saying that the US is better, but the principles of the US is its freedom, all right? And the president can get into wars if the president wants to, all right? Obviously, they need the support of Congress, but we're getting away from the point. American policy is basically anti-Russia, right? Or it's at least it's supposed to have been. Russia is a big op, China is a big op, and America is playing all these geopolitical games all at the same time. That doesn't mean, all right, that you don't have to, we can't be involved in any wars if we're going to spend money on healthcare and look out for our own people. Like, it's just not relevant. So what Tate is doing is reducing this kind of all of the sum of geopolitical debate into this one tiny point and basically saying, oh, yeah, Putin's so great. He cares about the people of Russia. Don't think he does. All right. For the hundreds of thousands of Russians that he sent into the meat grinder to die in Ukraine over a territorial dispute because of NATO, when NATO hadn't done anything, all right, is just ridiculous, okay? He doesn't have a clue what he's talking about, and really he's just on his knees gobbling Putin because he was thinking that since he'd fucked shit up in Romania, he'd screwed it up in the UK, he was at a certain point, I think, in my opinion, pondering as fleeing to Russia where he couldn't be extradited. And if he was really smart, he would have, but he's not very smart. So what got the UK's counter-terror police on his tail for this? Kicked off on June the 1st, 2026, when Andrew and Tristan announced that they were heading to Russia. Now, I wouldn't go to Russia. It's a hostile state, all right? They could arrest you. This is the thing. He talks about this stuff. Oh, Putin really cares about Russia and Russians. No, bro, if you say anything bad about Putin in Russia, he will throw you in jail. He might kill you, all right? Look at what happened to Navalny. But as much as, you know, there's a lot of crazy politics stuff going on in America at the moment, at the end of the day, you still have freedom of expression, freedom of the press, and they don't have any of that in Russia. But if you get on your knees, put your knee pads on and gobble up Putin, all right, you might get treated favorably. If you're a billionaire, if you're an oligarch, you might get treated favorably. So he was basically priming up the knee pads, all right, so that he could go to Russia and basically thinking, let me get on another grid. He always talks about getting on different grids, all right? Let me get on another grid and see if I could flee to Russia. So he said, we're going to Moscow. He announced it with his stupid little dance move in his cigar. And this was the plan, right? They were going to go to Russia.
Oh, you're in trouble now, baby. You're in big trouble now.
You can't dance at me.
I can't trouble now. You're in big trouble.
We're about to fly to Moscow.
Go to Moscow.
We're literally about to go. I need to tell my parents that I'm going to Russia.
Wait up. I'm going to tell your parents to come back.
Nice.
Ready?
Nice. Go to Moscow.
So they're lame as hell, right? But anyway, the next day they landed in Moscow, all right, and they were welcomed with a traditional bread and salt ceremony, as is apparently the way in Russia. I would rather get a delicious In-N-Out, but you know, everyone's got their cultural traditions, haven't they? But this is how they got down when they landed in Russia. He said, make new friends, but don't lose old ones. Tate's in Moscow. Pulling up to a hostile foreign nation, basically, with the hopes that maybe this would be somewhere he could duck off to when the heat got too hard for the R words.
We made it.
You get the gist, all right? That's how they're getting down out over there in Russia, okay? So the following day, all right, a Tate fan account claimed that Andrew had actually been swarmed by fans outside his Moscow hotel, okay? I'm sure the same thing would have happened to him in North Korea too. But this is kind of how it went down. Justin, Andrew Tate was swarmed by fans entering his hotel in Moscow, all right? This is how it went down. Swarmed by fans.
May I take a photo with you? All of us. Get together.
Swarmed by twinks.
Get in. Hello. Get in. Find a way to fit. Thank you, gentlemen. I love Moscow. I'll be here a lot. You'll see me. Thank you very much.
He said, I love Moscow. I'll be here a lot. You'll see me, yeah? Yeah?
Bye-bye, bro. Bye-bye.
So this clip got a community note. In the attached video, Andrew Tate is interacting with 3 fans outside a Moscow hotel, not swarmed, which means a large group moving together. So Andrew would then sit down, all right, for an apparent long interview with Rick Sanchez on Russian state media, where he talked about how badly that Britain and the West portray Russia. Nothing to do with any of the nasty shit Russia's been doing for years, all right? I need Telegram. Hang on, I got to back up with this.
We used to, not too long ago, I really feel like 15, 20 years ago, the apparatus, the matrix, the people in charge, whatever you want to call them, they were really concerned about people at home knowing they were lying. They tried very hard to make you believe they were telling the truth. But now they've reached this interesting stage where they're just kind of like, we don't care if they know we're lying. We don't care if they know we're making it all up. Just put it out there. Who cares? So it's like, we know they're lying. They know we know they're lying. And this is kind of, to tie it in, one of the reasons I came to Russia, because I just thought it was really interesting how hard they were trying to lie to me about this country. Yeah. I didn't know the truth of Russia. It's my first trip. Yeah. But I just thought, well, you're lying to me about something. Yeah. So let me go check it out, you know? And ever since, I've been eating gorgeous food, and now I'm on a nice golf course. It is really not what they say it is.
It's really not what they say it is, right? When you're the top G, you're definitely getting the real Russian experience. But anyway, he used this interview to once again claim that he was innocent. He was being targeted by a corrupt system. Now, the Russians know all about corrupt systems, so I'm sure they understood what he was talking about when he said that, okay? Because the whole thing is corrupt. They low-key, like, mastered these corrupted systems, right? And he think the UK is a corrupted system because he can't do the R word on girls there. He said, innocent till proven guilty is no longer a thing. I've been tried and they can't even take it to court. Doesn't look like that's the case. It looks like you're getting extradited to face R charges, numerous.
Andrew has not been found guilty of anything.
I've been tried. They can't even take it to court.
Right.
Because you're on the lam, because you're in fucking Russia, in a hostile enemy state.
All we're talking about, one day he was arrested and he's sitting here now. So just to be fair, and I think that's very important, by the way, and I think it's the least we can do to stay.
Well, this is the basis of democracy as we're supposed to understand it, is innocent until proven guilty, but that's been completely inverted. Because if they can slander you in the media, if they can use NGOs to write endless hit pieces about you, if they can debank you and take your money away, if they can prevent you from traveling, if they can attach heinous allegations to your name, well, now you're guilty until innocent. How are you supposed to prove your innocence when you have no social media platforms, no voice, no money, can't travel, can't move, and you're tied up in years and years of pointless litigation? So innocent until proven guilty is one of the foundations of democracy, which has been completely destroyed, along with all the others inside of many Western countries now. And they knew what they were doing, and they knew that I didn't do anything wrong, and they knew it would all amount to nothing, but they still managed to succeed in.
Doesn't look like it. Looks like you fled. Looks like innocent until proven guilty, and you knew you were cooked, so you fled. You ran away.
Putting me all over the news, locking me in jail, freezing all my banks, taking my money, keeping me on house arrest for 4 years, leaving me in jail for 6 months. All these things they did to me without even a trial going to court.
I get your point, and I understand it, and I recognize it, and I would tend to agree with you. Our country, the United States of America, I think you hail from the United States of America as well, right? Our country has turned into a very lawless place.
Yep.
There is not a single member of Congress, with the exception of maybe Thomas Massie and a handful of others, who are not on the take. They are legally allowed to be bribed. And judges are all bribed in the United States because they take money from big law firms and then they decide cases on behalf of those law firms. So, yes, the system, Andrew, is absolutely corrupt. And you make your case is strong in that regard. But before we leave this, I do have to ask you, forget the law. Forget whether you're guilty or innocent. And right now, you're absolutely innocent because you simply have been charged, which means absolutely nothing.
So, all right. It's all well and good saying all of that, right? When you duck in your charges and you've finagled and famooshed your way out of them. But when you're actually in detention in the United States, preparing to be extradited to the United Kingdom to face multiple R-word charges, multiple child P charges, it's not a good look. So, amidst that trip, this came out, all right? And let's not forget, we're in a proxy war with this country. Yes, British boots aren't on the ground, but they're sending guns, bombs, military. The US are training people. They're sending, what are they called? They're sending, Patriot missiles. They're sending HIMARS. They're basically sending a whole bunch of stuff. Everyone says Ukraine's a tiny army. Yeah, but they got those American goodies. They got the iPhone-style fucking weapons, and they turning them Russians into straight paste. All right, you could spread them on that delicious bread that you were given when you pulled up. They are absolutely obliterating the Russians comparatively, considering how little power this country is supposed to have. Yes, the West are helping Ukraine. All right, they're helping them because they are. They see themselves as more European and Western than they do as Russian. I know a lot of people disagree with that. Russia believe Ukraine is just Russia. We just deserve it. Let's just take it. Let's just make it ours again. But regardless of what your opinions are on that whole conflict, and it's much more complicated than I'm giving credit for, and I'm not an expert in it. I just have very loose opinions about it. But anyway, Justin, the Tate brothers were seen preparing to join the Russian army. You know, that hostile foreign government that is, killed people in the West before. Like, just so you understand, right? Like, you Americans might not understand. The poisoning of Sergei and Yulia Skripal, okay? The Salisbury poisonings, a failed assassination attempt to poison a former Russian military officer and double agent for the British intelligence services in the city of Salisbury, England, right? Him and his daughter were poisoned by a nerve agent. You can't come to the UK as a hostile foreign government and use a nerve agent, all right? A police officer was taken into intensive care. This is just one, all right? This is just one. There were other incidents, another poisoning of 2 British nationals, okay? This has happened a bunch of times, okay? They have tried to basically kill people on British soil. They have killed people on British soil with chemical and I don't know if it's a nerve agent as essentially like, it's in a family of nerve agents, a binary chemical. You're using chemical weapons on British soil. You're in the wrong. This is another one, right? 2 British nationals, Charlie Rowley and Dawn Sturgis, were admitted to Salisbury Hospital. Police determined they were poisoned by a Novichok nerve agent. This isn't something that just so happens to be laying around in England, right? And somebody died. A British person died. They said Vladimir Putin was morally responsible for the death. And because we're some bitches, we don't slide, all right? This should be straight Article 5. We're at war, all right? If this, bro, look, everyone wants to avoid war, all right? But basically, Vladimir Putin authorized the assassination attempt. He's killing English people. He's got UK bodies, and we're too scared to go to war with them. Right, so that's why we're sending weapons to Ukraine. We're letting their own ops slide on them. But anyway, sorry to keep going off track. All right, the Tate brothers seem preparing to join the British army. The Russian army, and this is a slap in the face to all of the British people. This is a slap in the face to Dawn Sturgis, the British national who was murdered by chemical weapons sent by Vladimir Putin personally. All right, scumbag, fuck him. This is an innocent woman, right, who had no business being murdered by Putin. It's a disgrace, all right? And so you are desecrating the memory of these British people who have been murdered by this administration. Talking about, oh, no, innocent till proven guilty, bro. You talking about, oh, in the UK it's not innocent till proven guilty. She was innocent. She was innocent, and it's a disgrace. So anyway, this is what happened.
I'm rolling.
I'm almost
3,
ready.
2, 1.
Ready.
They're real tough guys, huh? He don't know what he's doing. Does he?
I'm rolling.
I ain't gonna lie, they should have sent him to them front lines. They should have sent him to Mariupol or some shit. Send him in, all right? He a big, bad Russian badass, all right? So there would actually be a longer video that showed them riding in a Russian tank, handling weapons, taking part in full-blown military-style training. Look at all this nonsense that they got up to.
It's the same as a Lada. It's not a Lada.
It's not a Lada. He's gonna crash the tank. He's literally driving the tank.
So he's saying it's the same as a Lada. Do you know what a Lada is? This is a Lada. It's basically the shittest car ever made in history, okay? They fucking suck. It's like one of the worst and most useless, just most awful cars in the world. But it's basically like, it's like the VW Golf of Russia, all right? They're saying it's the world's third best-selling single-generation automobile platform, all right? Now, I've hated these cars my entire life for quite a funny reason, because when I was a kid, I watched Jeremy Clarkson tear one in half with a couple of bulldozers, and he basically made it clear that this was the worst car in history. Let me see if I can find you that clip. This was from an old VHS tape of Jeremy Clarkson, the Top Gear guy back in the day. This is the type of shit I was watching as a kid. But he tore a Lada in half, all right, in Apocalypse Clarkson. This was crazy, all right? He did a whole segment, all right? It was crazy.
Coming for a drive?
But you see, Tristan Tate, all right, as a man of such sophistication, a man of such luxury, all right, a man that allegedly commits the R word, he loves Ladas. He absolutely loves Lada. He's got one of his most prized possessions. He said that he would rather sell his $2.1 million Aston Martin he apparently doesn't own, all right, because he loves his Lada. He's obsessed with Ladas. He loves the Russians. He's a Russian gobbler. So they're out there blowing stuff up, doing their dumb stuff. Like, it's crazy.
Nothing, and then it all starts pulling away. You pull left to turn left, accelerate, you pull right to turn right.
Only my camera, давай. 1, 2, 3.
Ура! Ура! Ура!
Guys, спасибо.
Спасибо. Спасибо большое.
Все. Let's go!
It looks so tough. Is that it? Like, is that it?
3, 4,
That's the training.
6, 7, 8, 9,
Yes!
10.
Okay, все. Все, молодец, good job. Так, now you will be shoot.
Good job.
You will be shoot from the tank, yes?
Yeah, just like a Lada. Is your seatbelt on? I don't get it.
You understand? You need to say так точно!
Так точно.
Так точно!
Так точно.
Так точно!
Так
Repeat.
точно.
Tak точно?
Так точно!
Так точно.
Tak точно.
I'm not gonna lie, Zelensky could have done the funniest shit in the world when this was all going on, okay? But anyway, all right, he would basically just live it up with his bust-down watch on, living it up in the tanks. He would say, I'm finally upgrading the Bugatti. Listen, man, I hear the Russian military be doing the R word too, so maybe he would fit right in over there, okay? But after that post, many people online started tagging Ukraine's drone forces, asking them to do the big funny, all right, and target Tate. And the Ukrainian military actually responded, all right? They said, okay, sellers, we see your tags and we get it, but being a shitty person doesn't make someone a legitimate military target under international law. Climbing on a tank for internet clout isn't enough to become a combatant. Do something that actually qualifies, then we can talk. Until then, we'll keep our drones for real military targets, okay? They're saying, hear me out. Instead of using an armed drone, they just chase and fly an unarmed drone into his head every week and upload the footage. I can't lie. It would have been great to see a little FPV footage of Tate getting a limb or two filleted. So basically, let me give you a little update on what's going on with the UK, specifically what they're actually investigating him to now as far as the counter-terrorist stuff, because this is basically doing propaganda for a hostile government. So it says, Tate brothers refer to counter-terror police over their alleged Russia propaganda trip. The footage posted during their June visit to Russia was presented online as military training, and it shows the pair surrounded by men in military-style uniform as they're instructed through the various exercises. It says Andrew and Tristan Tate have been referred to counter-terror police after they took part in the training. Conservative MP says it's a breach of British foreign influence laws. You can't do that, right? Like, you can't actually go and do that. Like, you can't pop out. You can't go to Iran and just be popping up in a bunch of propaganda for Iran, right? I know some people would love to do that and people be caping for Iran, but you can't do that. So Alicia Kearns wrote to the Home Office and referred the matter to counter-terror policing, arguing there are grounds to examine whether the brothers were required to register under the Foreign Influence Registration Scheme as part of the National Security Act. The legislation requires individuals to register certain arrangements where they carry out activities in the UK under the direction of or for specified foreign powers. In a 40-minute long video posted across their various online accounts, Andrew and Tristan can be seen traveling to Russia. While there, they visit iconic landmarks like the Kremlin, Red Square, St. Basil's Basilica. They play chess in Chess Square, where Andrew and Tristan make jokes about George Floyd and flex their wealth. Right, so they got some clips. We've seen all this nonsense. I ain't seen this.
I'm spiritually Russian. I'm really happy inside, but you wouldn't know. Red Square. Do you know why it's called the Red Square?
I mean, I can probably put two and two together, but enlighten me, please.
I don't think you will. Go on.
Okay. If T says that, then I definitely don't.
So you don't know why?
No, I don't know why.
It's because then it's red.
Oh, gosh.
Thank you.
He's got such a weird gait. The way he walks, his gait, if you look up what a gait is the way you walk. But he's got such a weird little, like, just a weird little dainty gait. Look at the way he walks. His toes just point outward like, what's wrong with him? What's wrong with this man's gait? I'm sorry, that just, it throws me off. Anyway, upon arrival to Russia, they were greeted by men and women wearing traditional clothing, encouraging them to sing and dance. Throughout the video, the Tate brothers share facts about Russia and the age of espionage, as well as the Romanovs and their summer palace. The longest segment of the video shows Andrew and Tristan dressed in military-style camouflage and body armor, wearing helmets, hearing and eye protection, and several clips of Russian flag patches as they take part in a series of battlefield-style activities at a training ground in Russia. Operation Vanguard, they were calling it. The brothers are seen riding on and inside what's been identified as a Soviet-era T-80BV main battle tank, a gas turbine-powered vehicle still used by Russian forces in Ukraine and armed military service with a 125mm smoothbore main gun, as well as stripping and reassembling a Kalashnikov pattern assault rifle, firing weapons on a range, and throwing hand grenades from the cover of a trench. Other footage shows Tate being given the opportunity to use a grenade launcher and operating what's described as a flamethrower, while the brothers are also filmed singing Katyusha, the famous Russian song closely associated with Soviet wartime era. The footage posted during their June visit to Russia was presented online as military training and shows the pair surrounded by men in military-style uniform as they're instructed through various exercises. At one point, the commander they're with jokingly tells them whoever completes the obstacle course fastest will win a special medal of the Minister of Defense of Russia. Ms. Kearns alleges The trip raises questions about whether the brothers were acting under the direction of or even received payment from the Russian state and therefore should have registered under the Foreign Influence Registration Scheme. No authority has made any finding the brothers breached the legislation, and neither brothers have been charged with any offence. Both Andrew and Tristan Tate categorically denied the allegations made by Ms. Kearns. A representative for the brothers told the LBC their visit to Russia was private and personal, adding they received no payment, compensation, financial assistance or direction from the Russian state. It was just free propaganda. And they didn't deliver any Russian government talking points. The Tory MP told LBC it's quite clear when the Tate brothers travelled to Russia, they were part of some kind of junket for essentially Putin apologists and useful idiots. They were pumping out Russian propaganda. There was no question about it. They were on Russia Today. And that's why I think it's so important they need to register themselves as agents working for the Russian state. These are allegations made by Miss Kearns. No evidence has been produced the brothers were paid by or acted on the direction of the Russian state. Tristan in particular shared several posts on X over the last few years, expressing a pro-Russia sentiment, repeating talking points about the Ukraine war and NATO. In one date, October 23, 2025, he questioned why the people of Poland are scared of Russia when it was the USSR that was hostile towards them. He said Ukraine must join NATO because Russia will never attack NATO, but also give Zelensky money because when Russia is done with Ukraine, he's going to attack NATO next. You warmongers don't sound as smart as you think you do. You propagandists don't sound as smart as you think you do, right? Is this just a gif? He did something with that one, okay? Let's not forget there has been Russian missiles that have landed in Poland, okay? Poland are not feeling Russia. Poland are not fucking with Russia. They're not liking the way that Russia is taking the piss. Objects crashing into a field 100 kilometers from Poland's border with Ukraine, right? Oh, whoops, we accidentally hit Poland. Oh, whoops, we accidentally killed a British national. Let's not be ridiculous about this, all right? NATO has been attacked by Russia, and NATO have been cool about it because they're basically like, we don't even want to go World War III. Low-key because they're pussies. But, like, they're kind of on some shit where they're just like, look, we're just going to take it because if it goes World War III, we're going to have to just completely obliterate you guys. And it's just, you know, people think they're making these really smart points like Ukraine must join NATO because Russia will never attack NATO. Well, Russia has attacked NATO, but NATO want to downplay it because they don't want World War III. They don't want war with us, right? They don't want this war. Made other posts said there's zero genuine reason why the West and Russia cannot just be friends and live in peace. Yeah, there's one. It's called Russia. Russia is a manufactured boogeyman. Doesn't look like it. Doesn't look like it's a manufactured. Looks like they're manufacturing chemical weapons and missiles that are landing on NATO territory to me. But anyway, all right. Held accountable for the crimes of the USSR, which no longer exists. This was in 2018. This is a more recent one in 2026. It be happening all the time. All right. It be happening a lot. Anyway, they said we don't hold modern Turks, Brits, French, or Germans accountable for the crimes of their empires, but with Russia we do. Why? Simple. Because you can't scare the Eastern Europeans with these stories. Their grandparents remember them. Then we have our boogeyman, and global conflict can just be justified. We should have let Russia join NATO when they made the offer. Now that was a joke when Russia was trying to join NATO, right? That was ridiculous. But anyway, it goes on in this article to say, he added, empires fall, times change, Russia is only a threat to Poland so long as their ridiculous posture against them stands. Another from October 4th, 2024 reads, there is zero genuine reason why the West and Russia cannot just be friends and live in peace. Russia is a manufactured boogeyman. I already told you guys this one. So this is him replying to former Russian President Dmitry Medvedev, saying that we're relying on Russia to save the world, right? To save the R words, more like. He said Russia's new nuclear doctrine means NATO missiles fired against our country would be deemed an attack by the bloc on Russia. Russia could retaliate with WMDs against Kiev and key NATO facilities wherever they're located at. That means World War III. We're relying on Russia to save the world. The current US administration does not represent us as we proved in our election. Please do not let these warhawks provoke you. Let the consequences of their stupidity be paid for and fixed by our new peaceful administration. All right. And he says he's not doing propaganda for Russia. Ms. Kearns added, the Tate brothers need to come clean. It's not a lot we're asking for. Transparency. Did you take direction from the Russian state? Did you take money from the Russian state? I've written to the Minister of Security, Dan Jarvis, and asked him to investigate this because it's the government's duty to investigate those who fail to register themselves. Ms. Kearns, the former chair of the Foreign Affairs Select Committee said the issue extended beyond the Tate brothers, arguing that the law was designed to ensure transparency where online personalities may be promoting the interest of hostile foreign powers. She said the foreign interference registration scheme exists because we know that foreign states are trying to influence our political system, our democracy, and obviously many of them are doing it in a hostile manner. Russia, without question, is one. The legislation is all about transparency. If you want to take some money from other people, if you want to take direction from other states, that's your decision, but you have to register yourself with the Home Office so the public knows who you're working for. If you take money from the Russian state, if you take direction from them, it's really important because the state needs to know who it is that's helping those who are threatening our security and our safety. All right, that's at the Summer Palace in Russia. Kern said she referred the matter to counterterrorism policing and wrote to ministers to raise the issue. The offence of failing to register a relevant arrangement under the scheme carries a maximum sentence of 5 years imprisonment. No charge has been brought against either brother, and no authority has made any finding that they breached the FIRS. He's there with an unnamed woman in Russia, all right, looking like his type. The brothers' representative told LBC Andrew and Tristan Tate traveled to Russia in June for private and personal reasons, all right? They've already stated publicly on many occasions the visit was personal. They got no payment, compensation, financial assistance, logistical support, or direction from the Russian state. They were riding in quite literally Russian military tanks. But anyway, any Russian government body or any person acting on behalf of the Russian state, they didn't attend or speak at any state-organized political events, intentionally didn't attend the St. Petersburg International Economic Forum, despite inaccurate reporting at the time suggesting they were in attendance. They were not provided with Russian government talking points. They were not instructed to promote any Russian government message. They just do that under their own volition on fucking X. And they didn't act under the direction of any or control of any foreign power. The public messaging they gave during the visit was also clear. Serious countries should take each other seriously. People should see places for themselves rather than relying on recycled media narratives. Dialogue matters, and countries should work towards peace rather than escalation. That's not propaganda. It's basic statement in favor of direct observation, dialogue, and peace. On the facts, there's no proper basis to suggest Andrew or Tristan Tate were required to register under the UK's foreign influence registration scheme. There was no arrangement with a foreign power, no direction by a foreign power, no payment by a foreign power, no official Russian government activity, and no political influence activity carried out in the United Kingdom on behalf of a foreign power. If a Conservative MP has referred this matter to counterterrorism policing without evidence that Andrew or Tristan were paid, directed, assisted, or instructed by the Russian state, that referral is deeply troubling, and it appears to be politically motivated in an attempt to weaponize national security language against two private individuals because a public figure dislikes the optics of their travel and commentary. That's not how the rule of law is supposed to work. Counter-terror policing exists to protect the public from serious threats. It should not be used as a political complaints desk for MPs seeking headlines or trying to smear people they dislike. If an MP's made a referral without any evidential foundation, our clients reserve all rights to ask the police and any relevant prosecuting or parliamentary authorities to consider whether the referral was reckless, vexatious, or an abusive process or a wasteful use of police time. In response to this, Ms. Kearns told LBC, when there is reasonable suspicion and grounds to report that a law has been violated, citizens have a civic duty to report it. Security Minister Dan Jarvis said that he could not comment on an individual case related to the FIRS, but reiterated the government will not hesitate to use the powers available to them when activities pose a risk to national security. A counter-terror policing spokesperson said any allegations relating to possible terrorism or national security related offences are passed to officers within counter-terror policing who will assess the details and take any further action as appropriate. More broadly, we don't comment on who may or may not be subject to an investigation. Look, right, I don't know if there's solid evidence that they was working with the Russian government, but they over here spouting propaganda for a government that is hostile towards the UK. They over here downplaying, the democracy of the UK and the US in favor of a totalitarian state. I mean, Putin wins the election by like fucking 110% every year or whatever it is. It's ridiculous, okay? Ain't no getting rid of Putin. All right, Putin's in it until he's a pack. There ain't no two ways about it. Is there any evidence for them? I don't know. All right. It's realistically, they're probably this could be the government being a little bit hysterical. I personally think it's unsavory to promote a hostile foreign government. But at the same time, this guy is out here violating women allegedly, going on the run. I think that this was all a plan that he might eventually dip off to Russia, and I don't think he could have put that plan in place. But I don't know for sure. That's just my opinion. These are all just opinions and conjecture. I'm going to leave it there. That's the latest I've heard about Tate. There ain't been too many big updates, but if I do hear something, I will be sure to let you guys know. Thank you for watching this one. I'm out. Peace.